My name is Mirna Lynch, Policy Officer, also in charge with HR work at the Department of Judicial Affairs within the Ministry of Justice. We are a delegation of 6 that arrived in the Netherlands on Tuesday, March 25th to attend the 2-day National Career Fair, which was held today, March 28th, and will be held tomorrow, March 29th. On Thursday, we attended a meet and greet for the students, young professionals from St. Martin and others at the St. Martin House. At the meet and greet, the Prime Minister made mention of the brain drain within St. Martin and the fact that we need our students to come back home to help with the building up of St. Martin. After that, the head of P&O, Ms. Marisha Richardson, gave a presentation on the government organization, the different ministries and the vacancies which are available within government.
This Prime Minister believes in nation building. That is the only way that he can propel the prosperity and development of a country. And I believe that that can happen with the formula of a simple thing like a library. We are calling ourselves a nation and we do not have a library still in our country. We have it now budgeted. The library is in draw condition on paper. It's approved. We're going to start building a big national library for Country St. Martin. We are busy installing, founding a national development bank for Country St. Martin that we can help the middle class, especially the lower layer of the middle class, for them to be able to purchase a house in their life. At this particular moment, a policeman married with a teacher has a big challenge to get a mortgage to purchase a house. With a national bank, we can give mortgages loans at a low interest rate to help them to purchase a house, to actually make them powerful for the next generation. It starts with owning a house, I think. We are now busy also trying to bring a DRF, a disaster reserve fund. Thank God to the people of the Netherlands, we got 550 million for the reconstruction of a totally devastated country after Hurricane Irma. And I thought, if that happens again, seeing the climate changes that we are encountering as small island development states, of which St. Martin is one of them, I thought if we can start putting money in reserve to buffer the future surprises of climate change would be a great thing for the people of St. Martin. I'm now busy with a committee to install a disaster reserve fund for Country St. Martin. We are now busy reconstructing 12 gyms and 6 sport complexes for the kids in St. Martin. And we are, of course, hoping to finalize under my tenure the new hospital for Country St. Martin. Another issue that we have is we have a police station that has its challenges, and I'm working now, that is one of the measures that I had in the Netherlands, to see if I can get funding for me to build a new police station for Country St. Martin. And we're already planning to build. It is approved. We have the finance for it, partially by, thank God, the NRPB, World Bank, and the Trust Fund. With the help of the Netherlands, we're going to build an emergency operations center. That's a big bunker of concrete in which we will have our whole operational center installed to see how we can manage in times of disaster, because we have learned our lessons with Hurricane Irma. And I've lobbied in Washington, that is actually supervising the trust fund that we got as a donation grant from the Netherlands. We got about 14 million, and with that 14 million, we're going to build a new mental health care for Country St. Martin, because mental health care is still one of the areas in the healthcare that still need the necessary push. I have told you the ins and the outs of St. Martin, but seeing the fact that we have another government now with another vision, being very realistic about the realities of our country, we are hands-on trying to push St. Martin to propel it towards prosperity. And now I'm coming to the students. That is also a reason that we're here. We have in St. Martin enormous brain drain. Why? Because people are relatively unhappy because they hear that outside, abroad, people are being paid better, financially compensated better for what they can do with their work. It's very difficult for me to get here a lawyer in St. Martin or a technical, high educated person like we just lost our Troy Washington. For us, it's a big loss to lose such a professional that we need in the field of energy supply. And that is the reason that I'm actually encouraging everybody that wants to come to St. Martin, please come to St. Martin with totally different intention that you should start in the Netherlands. When you're a student, I can tell you, I've been a student for 14 years. I was a doctor first, and I specialized again in 6 years. And you were so finito with your horrible financial status that you thought, and now I'm going to make some money to improve my life. But now that you have the gray hairs, you're going to ask yourself, is that worth it, the money compensation for your professional contribution to a country or to your country? And in the beginning, I can understand that you're hypnotized for the secundaire arbeidsvoorwaarden, for the financial compensation. But at the end of the day, going on, one day when you get a little older, I hope you will think back on me and you will realize that there are much greater things in life than the financial compensation for your professional contribution to country St. Martin. If you decide to come work to St. Martin, you're going to get this. You're going to get walking in an elevator where somebody tells you, good morning, good night. Somebody is going to say, how is the family doing? Are you okay today? I miss that in St. Martin. People get scared of me in the elevator in my hotel though. I walk in, everybody is looking at their shoes, and nobody is seeing any. So I come in and I want to make an impact. I say, good morning. Everybody's, what is the gentleman want from me? We are not accustomed. We are millions of people walking next to each other here. Nobody is saying good day to each other. And actually, if I stop them on the road and ask them where they're going, they will be surprised that they will not have a great answer for me, that they're going in a direction that is going to improve the quality of their life.
Standing in the gap for the next generation. And I know the name is very long, but it's exactly the mission of the NGO. I'm the lady behind the Are You OK orange t-shirt at the march that was hosted about 2 weeks ago. I'm helping a lot of young people with coping mechanism, especially those that are dealing with suicide. I do have a girls club that we meet every other Saturday. Last Saturday gone, we started also with a youth club, helping young people to find the identity, helping young people to understand how to use the emotions and become the best version. But I don't want to talk much about what I'm doing in the community, but I want to thank my colleagues them here as well. They spoke a mouthful. I had a presentation here, but I'm going to deviate from the presentation. I'm going to speak from my heart because indeed, like Lawyer Dean Berry said, it's a community thing. And the question is, why are we here? You know, and I'm honored also to be here sitting, to be called one of the experts. Why are we here? And that's the very important question, the most important question. Why do we do things? How come we landed here? Why St. Martin is in this place that we're at right now? And I will say very simple, and a lot of people don't believe in a community that do not exalt God, and a community do not understand the fear of God, a community that stray away from the things of God. If we go back to our foreparents, it was a godly home that raised children, and those children became afterwards our leaders within our community, our teachers. And I'm not talking about a religious aspect of God, but fearing God that we understand what is wrong and what is right. And the fear of God will bring wisdom. And because of wisdom, we'll be able to know what to do and how to do it. The second problem is leadership. If a country do not have proper leadership, if a country do not have a vision, the country will perish. My favorite scripture is from Proverbs. It says that youths are like weapon in a warrior's hand. And that's very profound. Our youths are like weapons in a warrior hand. What does this mean? Whatever we invest in our young people today, they become warriors tomorrow. And it can be warriors for making great changes and creating a safe place and all what we all would like to see today. Or they can become weapon of mass destruction. And that's what we see on St. Martin and all over the globe. You know, we are living in the end times. You know, and I love to say that because we tend to forget that God's supposed to be the center of everything. No man can stand or rise without God. And the second is leadership. Everything rises above leadership. Everything falls under leadership. So if we don't have proper leadership, a country perish. Secondly, what is parliament? What is government? Government is supposed to establish, administer, pass laws that will govern and create a culture for the country. If you want to see how a country is run, you look at the leadership. Secondly, whatever laws we pass, how the leadership function in any nation, it will determine the culture and the lifestyle of the people. So what we are seeing today, based on my colleague Himzak, the Dean Barry, and the rest will say the same thing. Yes, we need a lot of stuff. And one of the concept I would like to introduce is the YECC. Together with Dr. Arneme, we form a partnership to create indeed a safe place and mentoring and coaching. But before we reach to all of that, we need to tackle the leadership problem. If we as government, if we as leaders, in whatever capacity we function, if we do not set role model patterns, if we are not doing the correct things, as a statist will say that, you know, young people, children will learn based on 80% of what they see. It is impossible that we will find a generation that will do the correct things. Yes, indeed, we have violence right now, rising violence, youth fights. But if we look at the older people, the adults, the leaders from government, people are constantly fighting. We fight on the floor of parliament. We fight within the schools as teachers. I mean, I can keep going on and on. If we want to see a nation change, it starts with self. So what is the problem? We cannot look at the youths for the problem. The problem is a gap that started, I will say, about 40 years ago. We didn't create a structure. We didn't invest in our youth. We stray away from the things of God. From God, we stray away of teaching the children what is right. We are now more leaning to humanism, what we believe is right, based on what is relative to us. We stray away from what is good and what is right, or it might be good in this case because of what a person is going through. And we actually stop calling white white. So our young people, the children from a very young age in our household, they will see what is what we call right that may not be right. So I can say a whole mouthful. And that's, I think that's 2 points I mentioned. I have a lot more to mention. And the third one is, yes, poverty, but the men are not stepping in the role that they need to step in. Leadership starts from home. What is leadership? A man in his rightful position leading a home. Mother's supposed to nurture, train our children, but a father's supposed to discipline, correct, just like God stated from the beginning. He as the fatherhead. In many homes, even if we do have a father in the home, the man ain't doing what he's supposed to do anymore. There's no leading, there's no setting example, there's no discipline. And if we look around, even on St. Martin, all around the globe, men strayed away from their position of leading and training up children. So we find out it's normal. We normalize that a mother will raise the children by herself. Maybe through court or guardian, they might get 200 guilders, 300 guilders, but the father figure is not there. In my youth club, right now, I have some young people that lives in the vehicle in Dutch Quarter. And I know this is not strange for all of us in this room. We all know what's happening from the last foster care that closed down. I have some that will call me, Dr. Ann, I didn't get nothing to eat today. And I will make it my business to, make sure that, but what I'm trying to say is, we have campaign, we have voting, we have election, all kinds of stuff. We do feed the children just maybe with a $10, $20, and then we forget about them. When I talk to my young people in the youth club, one of the biggest problems is they don't trust us as adults. They don't trust us as leaders. They don't trust us as teachers. They don't trust us at all, from police, from the KPMs, and all of them. Why? Because we say one thing and we do something else. We don't let our yes become a yes and our no become a no. It depends who we're dealing with. We might lean to the right or lean to the left. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell, it's very simple. If you want to change this island, start with oneself. What are we doing to fix this island? Are we constantly just having meeting and talking and bashing and pulling down? Oh, let me not even talk about social media. Yes, we talk about young people recording and fighting and stuff, but what are we as adults doing? Are we doing the same? Yes, we're doing the same. Are we fighting one another? Yes, we are fighting one another. So we want them to do something different that we didn't teach them. We want them to become these supernatural great youths, but we didn't create the environment to do so. So our country right now is a reflection of our leadership, not only in government, businesses, homes. It reflects what's happening in the home, the dysfunctional home. So to fix this, definitely, Parliament need to pass laws to ensure a lot of stuff that, especially men, to be in the home to raise the children.
I think the minister really said it all, but we are, as St. Martin Tourist Bureau and the entire team, very excited about this. As a lot of people already know, St. Martin is known now for events. So events tourism is very important to us. It's vital to the economy. It is a measurable return on investment, and it brings, it improves the economy. It contributes to the economy. That is what I was trying to say. We're very excited. These last few days, we asked Mark and his team to actually attend also the Smart Trade Show. So he was very busy making sure promoting to the buyers, because there was a lot of new tour operators and travel agents, knowing that this will be coming up soon, but also preparing for next year. All our PR firms are on board. We've been from the get-go that this was announced. We've been working together because we have a short period of time, but through digital marketing, social media, I believe we're getting definitely a lot of reach. And I leave the details to Mark, but creating this event in May, as the minister says, is shortening our seasonality, and that is what we're looking for. We're not only looking for the increase in arrivals, but also the increase in consumer spending, increase in our overall tourism receipts. And this is one of the forms we will definitely continue to focus on. And this will be targeted, I know it's predominantly the United States, but we will make sure that the Caribbean, it seems that it's catching on, but also for the future ones coming up, that Europe as well as Canada and other areas will visit the island in May.
Today's I guess a historic day because I've always imagined the Soul Beach Music Festival returning to St. Martin. It's been 30 years since Sinbad initially started his show here, and it's back. I've always been asked, why don't we have something like this when I traveled to Soul Beach in the past? How come we don't have something like this in St. Martin? We have the hotels, we have the culinary, we have the airport, we have the islands, surrounding islands. Well, it's finally here. When I was asked, what do you think about coming to St. Martin? I was ecstatic. I think this is something that is exceptional for us. We had the St. Martin Heineken Regatta in March. We have Carnival in April. And now next month, we're going to have the Soul Beach Music Festival here in St. Martin. As Mei Ling mentioned, it does predominantly focus on American tourism. But in the past, for the umpteen years I've been hosting the Soul Beach Music Festival, I've met people from England, I've met people from Brazil, I've met people from all over Europe that would come in the past to the Soul Beach Music Festival. And I'm pretty sure that's going to stay the same here in SXM. You know, we have the airport for it, we have the harbor facilities for it, we have everything for it. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get an abundance of international travels for this. It's going to be exceptional for the island, not just the hotels, the taxi drivers, the restaurants. Everyone is going to be amazed when they see how many people actually fly in for this festival. It is the first year. The lineup is not in past. It was huge, but we're still doing a comedy night, still doing a music night, and some new additions that they've added this year to the Soul Beach Music Festival, which I'll let the executive producer handle that. But this is a day and a dream come true that the Soul Beach Music Festival is back. Sinbad will be here 30 years, St. Martin. So I'm excited, and you will see me and myself, and we'll see Outcast later. He'll talk. We'll be gracing the stage at the Soul Beach Music Festival.
And as I mentioned, that night is a great night. We have it hosted by Chris Spencer, who's one of the most creative and funny comedians. He's a writer for the BET Awards. He's done the Grammys, but he's also just a great, great host. And he's a welcoming person. Also opening up, because we go old school, new school, we have the feature act, Pretty Ricky, Miss Pretty Ricky. And Miss Pretty Ricky is very big on as an influencer, but people might know her from the Cat Williams tour, where she stole the show, and Cat is a big fan. She traveled for the last, 3 months with him. So that's on Friday night. That's going to be at the Festival Village. And we're going to look forward to have, as many people from St. Martin as possible. On Saturday night is our main music night. So that's going to be hosted by Doug E. Fresh, which, he keeps the party going in between the shows. But he also has his own hits, and Dougie does tours. He puts out hip-hop tours that represent the old school. He's the promoter. He owns those tours, and he's known all over the world. So Dougie, being a promoter for this event and a partner in this event, and his love of this event goes all the way back to the Sinbad days, where he first got a chance to be on stage at the Sinbad Soul Festival. He said he got a chance to be on stage at the Sinbad Soul Festival and the HBO special. And then Prince gave him a call and saw him on the HBO special and said, hey, I want you to go on tour with me. And because of that, he has been loyal to this event ever since. But it's also just the kind of person he is. He's very humanitarian and just a very positive person. And he brings that with him for the whole show. And as our feature act, we have a very special young lady who I think is probably, if we didn't get her this year, we might not be able to afford her in the next years, and that's Money Long. Money Long, who has for long been a great writer for people like Ariana Grande. She's been Mariah Carey. She's made hits, but she decided and got pushed to come out on her own. And ever since she's launched her solo career, she's taken off. Hours and Hours, which won a Grammy last year, was one of the most played songs on R&B charts. Made for Me is I just heard somebody say yes. It's one of those songs that you get married to and you fall in love to. And she's just got this way of carrying herself. I don't know if anybody ever saw Sade live in concert, where she didn't do a whole lot of movement, but the quality and the design and the lighting, it made you feel a certain way. And she didn't dance. You're like, did Sade ever dance? I don't think she ever really moved that much. But this is Money Long, and I'm so happy. It took a lot to get her and to convince her to come out of the studio. But so I'm really happy that we have her, and I think that's what we're trying to find each year is juggernauts that you can get that's on their way up. We did the same with her back in the day, and we got her now. She did things she was doing with Super Bowls. So keep your eye on this young lady. I hope you come out. And again, it's that old school, new school combination. But of course, when you're talking old school, there's only one man that probably goes from the 70s to today. When you talk about hit after hit, generations after generations, collaborations from back in the day with Gap Band and Burn Rubber on Me to Party Train. Now you see that he's had 13 number one hits on his own. And no one can forget his name. For one of the hits was My Name is Charlie. And Charlie Wilson is to be our icon. He represents what Soul Beach is all about, bridging the gap, bridging the gap of music from yesterday to today. Charlie has, been nominated also for 13 Grammys. He's a best-selling author. He's a hard get as well, but Charlie, because of his dedication, he's sort of our level set for the festival. People know that we're mean business when we bring Charlie in. And so we wanted to start St. Martin with someone that's going to grab everybody. So like you said, Charlie goes back to the Gap Band, but, even today he's making hits. And I think people who haven't seen him live will not, they're going to respond in a whole different way because Charlie does about 4 different costume changes. He does he has dancers. It's like he's a 20-year-old man when you get up there. Charlie's going to be fun to watch. He's going to be fun to enjoy. We always like having the younger artists get a chance to see him because they come back and they go like, I got to do some work. I got to put some work into my show.
It's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation, splendid and scenic accommodations, Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
by the Ministry of Rumney are guided first and foremost by established legal frameworks, policies, and regulatory procedures. The Ministry remains committed to upholding the rule of law, ensuring that all approvals, rejections, and discretionary considerations align with the country's legal standards and sustainable development goals. While media coverage can bring attention to certain issues, it does not determine government's actions. The Ministry remains steadfast in making decisions based on facts, due process, and the long-term interests of St. Martin. Why do banks classify, this is the MP's 10th question, why do the banks classify certain properties as residential while your ministry classifies them as commercial? The classification of the properties by the Ministry of Rumney is based on zoning laws, spatial development plans, and relevant regulatory frameworks that govern land use on St. Martin. These classifications ensure proper urban planning, environmental sustainability, and infrastructure development. Banks, however, classify properties based on financial risk assessments, loan eligibility criteria, and their own internal policies. The classifications are primarily for mortgage and valuation purposes, which may not always align with zoning regulations. While the ministry's classifications determine how a property can be legally used, banks assess properties based on market value and financial considerations. Who misclassified the controversial permit under discussion? The classification of the permit was based on information available at the time of issuance. If an error occurred, the department is reviewing how it happened and will address it accordingly. How does the ministry define a mixed-use project? A mixed-use project includes multiple functional usages, better word, within a single development, such as residential, commercial, and recreational spaces, designed to complement each other within a unified plan. How many permits issued under your administration follow the same misclassification practices you criticized? Again, no criticism, but at the time of this meeting, Madam Chair, the ministry was not aware of misclassifications during my tenure. It is important to note that a mark of good governance is not an administration without mistakes, but one that acknowledges that they can happen and provide corrective measures. The practice of saying, oh, you see, you did it too, does not help the situation at all and only deflects responsibility and misses the opportunities for growth and improvement. Can you highlight major decisions taken by you without blaming past administrations? The Ministry of Rumney remains focused on executing its mandate through responsible governance and forward-thinking decision-making. Historical context is needed to understand challenges and constraints. This administration takes full accountability for decisions made under its tenure. If the MP feels that in giving historical context, he may be negatively or positively affected, and thus sees that as blame, this is for him to reflect on. Major decisions taken include restoration of critical infrastructure and drainage, addressing outdated policies, enforcement of regulations, and commencement of preparation for identified projects going forward. as well, of course, as interventions made on decision-making regarding the landfill. Have you ever overturned negative advice, a negative department permit advice into a positive one? To date, I have not overturned a negative permit advice, turning it into a positive one. Important to note is that overturning any negative advice into a positive approval is in itself not wrong, but it must be substantiated. In our review of cases where this has happened, very little substantiation is given. Are you suggesting the past staff of the ministry were giving incorrect advice? The minister is ultimately responsible for making the right decisions, regardless of the advice provided by the department. While the ministry relies on technical and policy-based recommendations, it is the minister's duty to ensure that all aspects are carefully considered before any final decisions can be made. It is possible that at times advice given did not reflect every relevant aspect of a matter. Additionally, there may have been instances where policy advice was whether consciously or unconsciously not sought or fully taken into account. Allow me to give one example that I've encountered during my tenure as Minister of Rummy. In a discussion I had with staff, it was stated that all developments are allowed to build places for workers to live. And this has always been done. This assumption rests on Article 26 of the Building Ordinance, which states that no building permit is required for the construction of temporary sheds, barns, sheds, and the like required for a building. Article 28 goes on to state that the provisions concerning homes do not apply to sheds, barns, huts, tents, and other similar establishments intended for temporary residence, unless the residence lasts for more than 1 year, less than 1 year. The commonly occurring practice is not just how things are done, but a well-regulated law that goes on to state that it is prohibited to give, take, or have establishments, as referred to in the first paragraph, for residents other than with written permission from the minister, and other than in compliance with conditions attached to the permit in the interest of health, safety, and morality. Thus, the Minister of VSA may also have a role to play in building permit process.